Welcome to a brand new episode of Spin the Wheel. I'm your host, Wheelchair21, and on today's show, we have some pretty interesting shit going down because this is episode 10. So, first off, we probably should talk about the fact that we now have good freaking official images for all of Houou Soldier's stuff. We have his DX sword and shield. We have the DX Gigante Ho-Oh. We have also a cool new SP freaking Q set, which honestly, all this stuff looks great and interesting. And it's stuff I'm probably going to want to get, especially that mini plot set for Gigante Ho-Ho, which really kind of irks me because it omits the formation of Q Jin. I'm pretty sure the formation itself can be acquired without whatever is missing for the Orion Shishi Red form where he turns all silver. But I mean, right now I am kind of hooked. I almost pre-ordered the actual Sword and Shield over at Hobby Link Japan, but then I saw what the price was, and I was like, damn, the shipping for that's probably going to be ridiculous. So I might need to wait on that, just because Christ Almighty, like that Sword and Shield already costs like $50, and that thing's probably going to be forced EMS just due to I guess, the width of the shield itself. As for the deluxe Gigante Ho Ho, looks awesome. Like I kind of really want to get deluxe Kyuranger mecha. I don't know why, but I wanted to say Kyuranger. But I kind of want to get Kyuranger mecha, even though I prefer Mini Pla. Like I love Mini Pla. I think they're better because you get to build them, you get to customize them, and they have articulation. And it's kind of like owning almost like a miniature freaking version of like a Soul of Chogokin almost. I mean, it's not as accurate, but it's pretty damn good in its own right. So I mean, I'm really looking forward to all of this cool stuff. And the SP set for the Qtamas just looks awesome to me because they use different like icons for their actual globes, and they actually have like a different base. Some of them being like bronze, gold, and like a different type of silver. Looks really awesome and cool. The other cool news we got is that it's pretty much been revealed that I frickin' called it. The Kamen Rider Double sequel is going to be a freaking book, but it's not no ordinary book. It is a manga series called Kamen Rider Double Futo's Detectives or Detectives of Futo. So right now the name is, impending due to translations between groups and stuff, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be something interesting and cool. I would actually laugh if it got a publication through like Viz Media or something, due to the fact that like they just like grab any kind of mangas even if they don't have a series, and sometimes just be like, hey, we're publicating this. It's like, what? It would also be funny if like say Crunchyroll like then was able to finally get a deal with Toei, but then there's all these legalities that are in the way. And that's pretty much all we have for news at this time. I mean, there's anime news, but none of it really deeply interests me. So we're gonna go right into what I wanted to do this week, which was sort of review the Wonder Woman movie as well as Transformers: The Last Night. Now, the reason I want to do one good movie in quotations and one bad movie in quotations is because honestly, I liked both of them, and no matter what, this is all up to other people's opinions and takes on the films. Because starting off with Wonder Woman, because it came out first and that was the first one I actually saw. With Wonder Woman, it's honestly a really good telling of the story. Now, most of Wonder Woman's story, like dealing with Steve Trevor and stuff, always normally deals with World War II, not World War One. So to set it back even further was kind of an interesting take. And I actually loved how they tried to build up that the God Killer was really the sword when, the entire time it's technically supposed to be her, because they're going off of the current storylines where she is actually a god, not just like a goddess made out of clay. That was just like her backstory to hide the truth from her. And I honestly enjoyed that. I really enjoyed how she wanted to become a warrior, how her mother really just tries to protect her, and it's actually for the worst until she realizes from her sister that she has to be this champion in case Ares ever does come back. And I really did love the story that we saw being built on Themyscira for like the first probably 20, 30 minutes of the film, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, like backstory, and it was a better depiction than we've seen in previous alliterations of Wonder Woman, whether it be seen on television through the animated series or through the one animated movie. Like I felt like this was a really interesting take, and I mean it was a proper adaptation for the backstory, but I just felt like it was better than what we have seen in the past. Also, I gotta say the shift to World War One also I think was a little bit better due to the fact that World War Two is always popularized. It's like romanticized. Like there's some thing that just gets everyone off their feet and in love with World War Two. Like so many people, in a sense, like have this huge fascination for it compared to World War One. And so to take the story to a war that doesn't make everyone jump off their couches to go want to go watch a war movie about. They're like, oh hey, we're gonna do World War One. And I think it was also to help show a real passage of time, to show her like immortality as a god, I think, or a goddess, since she is female. So I think it helps build the story. The whole thing about her kind of being naive to how the world really is was also good. I like the fact that they put in the whole she loves ice cream bit. Like every time she's introduced to it, she's all animated. And I gotta say, the curveballs they try to throw at you to try to make you think that the German general, as I kept calling him, William Stryker, since he's Stryker from Wolverine's Origins, was kind of decent but not there. Like from the get go, even though like I forgot who was cast as Ares, I kind of like easily remembered as soon as I saw the actor who played Professor Lupin in the Harry Potter films. Like as soon as I saw him right there, out and the way he was acting, I'm like, this guy's either Ares or he's working for Ares or with Ares. And originally, I thought he was supposed to be a German dignitary, only to find out he was an English one. So like when you find out that he's actually an English one, they try to throw off that curveball that he's not Ares, then he is Ares when they do the whole reveal. And I feel like the entire story, in a sense, kind of really, really tries to sugarcoat the reality of who was Ares, and it wasn't that great, even though the film is just so good because, like, it's so good in the fact that it's just very basic and tells the story that it needs to tell. That it's kind of in regards like the Superman 1 movie in a sense. It's like the original Superman movie, Christopher Reeves. It's literally like that. It tells the story of bam, how like Wonder Woman got off Themyscira, why she came to the real world, why what her real struggle really is, which is normally like Ares. And it pretty much captures it the right frickin' way. It's probably like I think honestly one of my favorite DC films aside from the original like first two Christopher Reeves Superman, the first two Batman series in the Tim Burton Joel Schumacher 80 slash 90s verse with Keaton, and this one I think they're like the best movies we've gotten thus far. So I mean, watching it, I think the acting was done well. I think the suits were done well for the Amazons. I think the casting was great, getting actual real athletes to be the background Amazons that were a part of their war party. And I think Gal Gadot did a lot better than we expected. Steve Trevor, Chris Pine, Steve Trevor worked perfectly. I just wasn't expecting the sort of plot twist with his character because he usually survives. But even now, being a World War One survivor, he probably wouldn't be alive for the modern era. So I guess it's a good idea that they had killed him off, like made his sacrifice done, so she came to the realization that he's she's a goddess. So I mean, had it been World War Two, it would have made sense that he could still be alive. World War One, easy way to say, yo, he did, and opens up like the door for Wonder Woman to like fall in love with whoever it be, like Batman, Superman, Aquaman, Flash, anyone, even Cyborg. Like it leaves that doorway open for possible love interests and so on and so forth in the movie verse if they decide to go down that route. Honestly, like I said, it's a really good movie. It's not the greatest of movies, but it's better by comparison to say like the Dark Knight series with Christian Bale, or Batman and Robin, or Superman 4, or is it Superman 3 that everyone hates? I forget which ones people hate. Or is it 3, 4, and 5? Wait, was there a 5? I don't know. Who remembers this day and age? Honestly, like I said, like it's really up there as being one of the best. Whereas Transformers: The Last Night, I'm gonna say this right now. A lot of the criticism it has is, I think, from the people who just deep down hate the Transformers live actions movie franchise. Like, they're people who hate that. They're people who hate the Hollywood cash grab, or they're people who just excessively hate, like, Michael Bay. Because honestly, I've not really hated a Transformers movie except for the Revenge of the Fallen. And honestly, the Last Night, while it has the I should say the creativity and the story that should have been like an amazing freaking movie, the execution on the post production of cutting the film felt terrible. Like, it felt really bad. Like, I mean, first off, a lot of the scenes are kind of jarring and feel either out of place. And it was kind of revealed that Paramount is kind of to blame for this, that they cut down the movie and they kind of treated it like Warner Brothers does a DC film by saying, oh, we want to get in extra showtimes per day to try to get that money. And it hurt the film. Another reason they also hurt the film was supposedly due to the fact that they tried to give more dialogue to all of the Cybertronian characters. That means like every Transformer, Autobot, Decepticon. And honestly, I think the other issue was they were trying to build off the mythos of how like the Transformers don't even know where they originally come from, and the story always is constantly changing for them because them discovering their history is always different as they know it, due to the fact of either who was their creator or who helped put in place these relics. So, like, the ideal story of that, Quintessa is just a psycho bitch who's out to destroy Unicron, Primus, and Cybertron and Earth, kind of is apparent because she, as a villain, never gets her motives or narrative out there as what she wants to do after she kills Unicron slash Earth, because they're using this lore now. They're actually using real Hasbro lore in the films. Like, it's just a weird narrative, and you find out that she made Optimus Prime and she put the Nemesis Prime protocol into him so he would be her servant, which kind of makes sense. It's a cheap ploy, and it like has for great storytelling, but it kind of goes nowhere because of the Deus Ex Machina ass pull moment where Bumblebee talks and bam, Optimus is good again. So, like, that whole part I think is the biggest problem, is that like the motives are never revealed and they leave you hanging for a sequel because, spoiler alert, that's the Easter egg ending or the teaser ending, is Quintessa survives this film and says, yeah, um I'm still out to kill Unicron. So it's like just the main narrative of the film is never really gotten across. Like, we know we have to stop Quintessa from killing Unicron, but at the same time it's like no one explains what the whole cause and effect really kind of is, except that she kills Unicron, Earth dies. We have to let Unicron live. It's kind of stupid. There's a few other plot holes, like what led to Megatron fully reforming his body from the Galvatron system into the new body. A lot of people just think it was Quintessa just taking his consciousness and putting it into a new form. No one understands how he came in contact with her, how she found him, and it's kind of like that one thing where I feel like the movie needed a better story building of the entire time of why even Megatron does his truce. Like, it's like, ha ha ha, it's a backstab ploy. So that's a problem with the film, is like there's a bit of convoluted bullshit where nothing's kind of explained, and it really feels like a really, really over glorified G1 like three-parter that's garbage. And when I mean like G1 three-parter that's garbage, you could say like Five Faces of Darkness bullshit level. Like season 3, not season 1 or season 2, where at least the multi-parters kind of make sense. Like how they pretty much ripped off a couple of the episodes in season 2 to make Transformers freaking Dark of the Moon. Nah, Age of Extinction's like a bad grouping of of season 3. And that's why I think a lot of people shouldn't be pissed is like literally some of these movies just rip off your goddamn childhood and they do it so perfectly that you're just pissed off that your childhood sucked. Because I mean, when I watch G1, garbage. That's just trash. I'm a loss for words because like I like the G1's designs, I like the Takara stories, I like the G1 movie, but I watch G1 and I'm like, damn, does anyone in the '80s know how to write a story? No, no, they don't. And I feel like Age of Extinction was like, let's try to make a story, and then Paramount was like, we're just gonna cut that to shit, and it went out the window. So I mean, what I did enjoy was honestly Mark Wahlberg's performance. A lot of people hate Mark Wahlberg. I think he was good for the movies thus far. I hear that last night is his last one, but I think he's been a great human character for the films thus far. I think Anthony Hopkins' role as Edmund Burton was an amazing role. I thought having freaking Seymour Simmons appear again was actually a pretty good thing, and Laura Haddock, Star Lord's mother as Vivian Wembley, was awesome. The only thing I was kind of irked about was like Mitch Pileggi being in the film and not having anything to do. I like that actor. Pileggi's like really awesome, and the fact that he only had like 2 scenes and 4 lines, I was like, this is some bullshit right here. Like I actually thought he was gonna do some awesome stuff, but nah, he didn't do anything, and I was sad. Mitch Pileggi got nothing, and I was sad. As for the characters, like with the Transformers, the Autobots kind of got shafted this time around. Outside of like Bumblebee, Optimus, and actually like Hot Rod and Cogman, and like Hound, Crosshairs, and Drift like had some good one-liners. They had at least four, at least each of them had at least 4 to 5 lines of good dialogue. But they kind of got like overshadowed by B's popularity, the insertion of Hot Rod, our Headmaster Cogman, and Prime. And the Decepticons were pretty impressive. Like their whole Suicide Squad aspect, where Megatron cuts the deal to get his team together, was awesome. But at the same time, it made me annoyed that they were just ripping off DC, and then to find out they got cut up like DC was just hilarious. It was just like, wow, wow, you guys ripped off Warner Brothers. That's a bad thing. You don't rip off Warner Brothers. They kind of suck right now. So it was kind of funny. It's just one of those things where like I still enjoy it, even though it's like a hot steaming mess. Like there's a lot in there that if you rewrote it, you'd have a better film. Hell, if you split it up into 2 films, you'd have a better film. Like honestly, I would love like these supposed to be like action movies to sell toys and get adults back into their childhood if they were like cut up into like multi-parters, kind of similar like how they did I think like what is it, Harry Potter, Hunger Games, and Twilight, release one movie in the early and end of the year, like somewhere like right before the summer bust, and then like one during the Christmas holiday season, like November to December. And I think they could really rack up better stuff if they worked on accurately like story building, and trying to work on the ethics of sequels. So like film a movie every like 3 to 4 years, but make it a long ass one where you can have one half early on and the second half later on and still sell your toy lines. Because like for Transformers, I think that would work perfectly rather than needing to have all of these spin-offs. Just like with Star Wars, if you have like how they're doing now, at least maybe a movie every other year, like a real like one of the main movies, then having one of the side stories, you will do good. And I think that's the problem with Transformers is that like they're trying to really build a universe that's kind of been segmented and broken due to issues that were started ever since the get-go, or at least in the original sequel, which was Revenge of the Fallen. Like I think a lot of the reason the live action movies get more hate is just because Revenge of the Fallen. Because if you sit back and watch Dark of the Moon, Age of Extinction, they're pretty solid sequels. Revenge of the Fallen just came in there and like shit on everything the first movie tried to do. Because everyone's like, "Oh, I enjoyed the first live action movie. Don't get me wrong, but all the sequels after it were just a stupid cash grab." And I think that no matter what, even if a movie does get sequels, it's always a cash grab. Even if people are like, oh, this sequel's great, that sequel's great. It's building a franchise. No matter what, it's a fucking cash grab. So I think it's a double standard. It's like with Star Wars. It's like, oh, I love Star Wars. I love all of it. But it's like, it's a goddamn cash grab. It's always kind of been a cash grab because of that huge freaking, universe of being built. It's like the goddamn reboot of the Star Trek franchise when they did the original series. The original series getting like, the 5 or 6 movies. And then you got, Next Generation that kind of like lived off after having the series end in a couple of movies. It was like one huge cash grab. When you do a series or you do a movie series that has multiple sequels or some chronological story timeline, like say the Fast and the Furious, it's not just building a franchise, it's making a cash grab. There's no ands, ifs, or buts. And when you're dealing with properties like Star Wars, Transformers, Star Trek, and these comic book franchises, it's all just about marketing products at the end of the day. So it's like you can't be pissed if they're trying to gear it towards adults to get them into collecting, as well as bring back the fans or get a new generation of fans. That's like a giant like counterproductive thing. I mean, you can still make a great story and get people into it, but to like have these weird expectations is ludicrous. I mean, I did have high expectations due to enjoying Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction a lot more, and the lead up and the hype into the last night. But I mean, there is some regards for issues to occur. I mean, not everything is going to end up being perfect. I mean, you're gonna have a few broke eggs. I mean, look at the Godzilla franchise. Has almost 30 films in total, and there's like at least 6 bad ones in there. 6 bad ones off the top of my hand that I can think of right now. I mean, I enjoyed it. I love the toys. Probably Voyager Hound is my favorite thus far. I mean, I'm literally holding him in my hand, fumbling around with him as I'm talking about this. But like I said, I think that both Wonder Woman and Transformers are great summer films. I'm planning on seeing Spider Man Homecoming within the next 2 weeks, so most likely we'll be talking about that. And I plan to next week talk about freaking the stuff I binge. We're gonna talk about more of the cartoons I've watched over the years, and maybe the following week, if I still haven't seen Spider-Man: Homecoming yet, we'll do freaking Gavin versus Deca Ranger because that's a big thing right now, and Metal Heroes are life. Anyways, I'm Witcher21. If you've enjoyed this video here on YouTube or enjoyed the audio on SoundCloud, throw me a like, hit the subscribe, and tune in for more episodes. Anyways, I'll see you all next time, and just go follow me on Twitter and Facebook.